in the Golden Triangle in Canada. Are you ready?
Jack.
There we go.
That's great. Okay, thanks everybody for being here. So, yeah, I want to take you through Skeena Resources is redeveloping or making it an open pit out of the old small underground operation that was Eskay Creek. Some forward-looking statements will definitely be mentioning today. Okay, we'll start. Eskay Creek is located in the Golden Triangle, northwest BC in Canada. It's an area known for very high-grade operations, including Brucejack, Snip, and Eskay Creek. We have two assets there, Snip, another former operating underground high-grade gold mine, and then Eskay Creek, which finished production in 2008. What I want to mention here as well is in Tahltan territory. That's the First Nation in this area of British Columbia. It's a First Nation that is very attuned to mining. A lot of them kind of grew up within the Eskay Creek fold, so they have good views of the project, and we really consider them a big partner of ours. As far as management, Walter Coles, now Executive Chairman, former CEO, he was really the one that was able to make the deals for both Snip first with Barrick, and then finally with Barrick again for obtaining Eskay Creek. So he's one that really brought the company to where it was today. It's a company that's actually been around for quite a few years. But and myself, I joined the company a couple of years ago. Now the CEO. I've been in mining operations and development projects, building projects for my entire career. Prior to this, I was with B2 Gold as part of the team that developed Fekola in Mali and brought that on into production. In terms of location and infrastructure, this is one of the key things about the project. First of all, there's a paved highway that goes up to the area. A nice all year round gravel road accessing the site. But really what's key is between the time that Eskay Creek closed down in 2008 and now, there are 3 hydroelectric facilities that were put in immediately in the vicinity of Eskay Creek, the closest of which is 17 kilometers away. So that really is what allows us to produce now, put in a plant that will process 3 million tons a year using good, cheap, clean hydropower. So I mentioned this is a high-grade gold production producer in the past. It operated for about 14 years, produced 3.3 million ounces of gold, another 160 million ounces of silver. What's key here is the grades. 45 grams per ton of gold and 2,200 grams per ton of silver is what this averaged over the life of the mine. It was the highest grade gold mine operating in the world over its life. And the other thing here is the cutoff grade. So you can see that once they started processing, the cutoff grade was 15 grams a ton. So that was really the premise of what led us to acquire Eskay Creek and see what was there. So this was shut down in 2008. Gold prices were certainly much lower than they are today. And given that the small underground operations cutoff grade was so high, we figured that there was quite a bit left. So we've recently completed a definitive feasibility study or updated feasibility study, put that out in November of last year. That gives us now, looking at the reserves, 4.6 million ounces of gold equivalent ounces. That's made up of 3.3 million ounces of gold and 88 million ounces of silver. And the grade. The grade is really the key here. 3.6 over the life, but I'll point out in the first 5 years it's well over 5. The other thing to show on this slide is that in the proven category, about 80% of the ounces are in the proven category. kind of unheard of for an open pit at the start of a mine life. This is the results of our feasibility study that we put out. At a base case, $1,800 gold and 23 silver. We have a Canadian after-tax NPV of $2 billion, after-tax IRR of 43%, and a 1.2-year payback. So incredible metrics there. At today's gold price, we'd be sitting a lot closer to about $3 billion NPV and less than a 1-year payback. So the metrics on this project are pretty astounding. Along with that, $687 an ounce all-in sustaining cost over the life. Again, over the first 5 years, that's going to definitely be lower. It's a 12-year mine life. We believe there's a lot more potential in the area, and you know, we really believe this will be extended much further than that. The CapEx in the last updated feasibility study, we added some components, made sure the engineering of this was correct. We made sure it was right. I wanted to make sure all of the engineering was good and that we could build it for this. So we're confident in this CapEx, about 713 million Canadian. If we look at the overall production profile of what's expected, you see the first year's quite a bit higher production. We average about 450,000 ounces a year of production, gold equivalent ounces. You can see the grade. The grade tails off towards the end of the mine life. That's where we expect to bring in our other project, Snip, to bring those ounces back up, bring the grade back up. What's not well known about this project is it is a polymetal project. It has significant amounts of antimony, certainly would cover a big portion of the requirements from North America. Along with that, a little bit of copper, but quite a bit of zinc. And what's not shown here is quite a bit of lead. So there's also about 150,000 tons of lead. None of the base metals that are shown here are actually included in the economics of the project, even though we will be getting some payments for them. If we look at the project overall, we see the pit in the foreground. Spin this. This is the way the ore body looks. It plunges basically to the north down. We have a processing facility located here that we'll be putting in. We'll start out at 3 million tons per annum on that, producing a flotation concentrate, quite fine grinding on that. And then we'll increase that to about 3.5 million tons a year after year 5. The other thing to point out here is at the top of the screen, it already has a permitted tailings facility. So that was a lake that was made into a tailings facility, no fish in the lake. It was permitted by Barrick before this operation was shut down. So it's a huge advantage to us in terms of environmental assessment work and having that permitted facility already in place. It's big enough for the life of the mine. It will also include, and we'll put under subaqueous disposal, all of the potential acid generating waste from the pit. That was something that we did in conjunction really with our discussions with the Tahltan First Nation. They were worried about some legacy dump issues and long-term after the mine shuts down, so we agreed that we would put that material in here. What differentiates Eskay Creek? Really, this is a project that the Tahltan are comfortable with, and really they're our partners here with it. It's got excellent infrastructure. Being a brownfield site, it already has a number of existing permits on it, and that gives us big advantages in order to get a lot of the early works and earthworks started ahead of the final permits. When we look at comps, again, this is all about grade. So we look at the grade on average, it's about 3.6 grams per ton over the life, but it's really the first 5 years that matter. We're confident we can build up those later years. So it's about a 5 gram per ton open pit mine. So about 5 times the average open pit mine grade in the world today. When we see where our peers, this will be probably the 3rd biggest gold mine in Canada once it starts operation in the first 5 years. There is still significant upside, we believe. It includes a lot of material that lies below the pit We believe that we can steepen the pit walls further. They're quite conservative in their design right now. We believe through dewatering we can steepen those, obtain some of that material as well. There's lots of underground potential here still left in the portion that plunges to the north. We've left that for on the shelf for now. We'll worry about that later on. We do believe there's still huge exploration opportunities here, and the biggest one is Eskay Deeps. So the question's always been on this: what happened to the ore? It just abruptly stopped there. Some of the geologists surmise that the basin that it was formed in was cut off. Others looked at it and said, no, it looks like it's been faulted off. So we did some geophysics work and identified it looked like the basin has been faulted down and to the northwest. So we did some drilling on there the last couple of years. We did see that the system is alive and well. So we were able to get 32 meters intersection of 3.8 grams per ton of gold and another 60 silver. That was in rhyolite, most of the real high grade that we're looking for here. So what we're really looking for is the contact mudstone where the 60 gram material was that they mined year after year after year. Where is that lying? So we see the systems there. Now it's a matter of figuring out where is the contact mudstone thicker and what we can target to really look for that 60 gram material. Moving on to our Snip project. So this is another project. It's nearby. It's about 45 kilometers away by road. We do need to put in about 20 kilometers of road to get in full access, and then we'd truck the ore from this. We'd bring this in as a smaller underground operation, probably in year 4 or thereabouts of production, and build up that production profile from there. Right now, there's currently a resource of about 800,000 ounces on that, and a fairly good grade, over 9 grams a ton. Further exploration package. So we're able to increase the land package that we have quite significantly over the last couple of years. So 3 years ago, we had about 12,000 hectares in the area. Now we're over 180,000 hectares. We picked up a couple land packages, KSP and Kingpin, from buying QuestX. That's where a lot of the potential we're looking at for this summer. So last year we did some reconnaissance work in the area. We see, identifiers showing that there looks like there's some big potential for deeper porphyry copper gold systems. So we're going to do some drilling on that. I will say, it's in the vicinity of KSM, another big lower grade copper gold deposit, and Galore Creek, another one, and all of the geology is very similar to that area. And then we picked up some land in Hoodoo, so we were able to stake some ground that was previously unstaked. It used to be covered in glaciers, now it's not. Our guys flew over it, found some really good mineral potential there, so we hope to do. We're looking at spending about 15 million Canadian on exploration this year, so it might be 10 to 15,000 meters of drilling, and then some other work looking for Eskay Deeps. So where are we at today? So as I think is fairly commonly known, the Lassonde curve. So it starts out, we went up. Everybody was excited to see the potential of Eskay Creek and what was going on. And then we started putting out feasibility studies, and we started dropping again. So we believe now we're at the bottom. What will bring us up are some catalysts. So the first catalyst we're looking at in the next 3 months is project financing. We're looking to do project financing primarily as a stream, a little bit of equity, and then debt. Looking at alternatives instead of using equity is really the model. Along with some other things like getting some of the interim permits and then moving up the permitting timeline, getting the EA assessment, EA certificate, which we think will come in middle of 2025, and then the final permits, Q3, Q4 of 2025. Along with that, we're looking at doing the impact benefit agreement and having that completed with the Tahltan First Nation sometime this year. This is our capital structure as we are today, about 100 million shares. We've got good analyst coverage. And then, so really now this is where we're looking at what kind of dilution, and we're trying to keep the dilution to a minimum in terms of the project financing and what we're doing. And that's all I have today. Thank you.
Thank you. We do have time for questions if anybody has questions. Just raise your hand. We'll get a mic to you. If not, when you look at the First Nations group and kind of what are their asks? What are their demands as a partner in getting this done?
Yeah, they're a fairly sophisticated group, and being that there's a lot of mines in the area, you know, a lot of the First Nations, the first thing that comes to mind is employment, and that's not really. Of course, they want the employment as well. They're a very entrepreneurial First Nation, and they want business opportunities. So they want to grow businesses that not only operate in their territory, but can operate outside of it. And that's really working together and helping them develop those businesses and using them for that.
And then looking at the financing and trying to finance the build of this, how are valuations now from the streaming companies? Competitive. There's been a lot of new royalty companies that have been developed, so hopefully that brings some competition to help pricing for the developer who's looking to do that.
Yeah, it's an excellent point, and that's really why we're looking primarily at streamers right now, the royalty companies. They're typically given, you know, upwards to 1 times NAV. Which when we're looking at where we're at right now, maybe 0.3 times NAV or even lower, it makes it, you know, palatable to what we can do versus equity. And the competitive nature, because as you say, there's a lot of them out there now, that's a big key. We're really looking at doing a package together with one group, being equity, stream, and the debt, kind of like G Mining had done last year.
And then lastly, just in terms of permitting, tailing facilities always keep coming up as problems in other regions, and there had been some issues in Canada as well. It's gotten a little tighter. How do you foresee them handling the existing, what was there, and then anything future permitting?
Yeah, so the interesting thing is because it's a fairly deep lake, we need, you know, fairly small dams. That is one thing that makes this, you know, a lot more secure in terms of tailing storage facilities. And the other thing is that because we're not only putting tailings in it, we're also putting the waste rock. So at the front end, by where the dam is going to be, we'll have a big, large plug of massive waste, just like what you typically use in building the dam in the first place. So we believe the factor of safety on our facilities will be almost second to none.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.